Well, the series is based loosely on Jake's book, who I've known my whole life. We grew up together, and I would come visit him in Japan, before the events, the book, the series. Um, so, the authenticity of it was based on there are lots of people who are officially no longer part of the Yakuza. Now, we can't speak to actual Yakuza as an American corporation, but there's lots of people. And so there was a great deal amount of time spent sitting with, interviewing, talking with former members of the Yakuza, all to try to get an authentic portrayal of that world, just like we're trying to have an authentic portrayal of 1990s newspapers, an authentic portrayal of 1990s police work.
I arrived in Japan earlier and started seeing people, and then JT came and we did sort of the final callbacks. But one thing that's interesting is for both those roles, um, we insisted that the actors audition, even though somebody like Yosuke-san would never audition for a part, nor would Miki-san. And we had other actors who I won't name, but who were equally famous, and everybody came in to audition and to work with us. And so we had access to being able to work deeply with these top actors and see who would really be the best fit for the role, which was, I mean, I think it's partly because we were an American production and the show was shown internationally and was already a hit. But as you know, normally if you're making a Japanese show, you can't audition somebody on the level of Yosuke-san. You just have to go politely and ask if he would consent to do the job. So I think that gave us a big leg up. And then even we were able to, for the leads for the Nagata, for Miki-san's part, have them work together with Ken-san so that we could be sure that the chemistry was right. And so we were able to, we had a bit of an advantage in making sure that there was the right chemistry.
And I wanted both those characters played by Ken and Sho to have another character come and really shake up their world in season 2. So not only did they pay those two new parts, not to give spoilers, but they play a huge part in the story of season 2. And thus, as Alan said, we needed actors who could go toe to toe with Ken Watanabe and Sho.
In fact, because I directed episode 2 where Yosuke-san makes his debut, and I had asked him and Sho both if they wanted to meet and work together before we shot their first scene, and they both were like, no, because the characters are not friendly, and so we don't want to meet ahead of time. We'll just meet each other on set and see how it goes. And you can feel that in the first scene they shot was the scene where Hayama is introduced into the Chiharakai.
Well, I wanted, I'd always planned, even as we were shooting season 1, I had the story plotted out for season 2, and I knew the sort of general trajectory of her. All the characters sort of they become more successful and then have more problems in season 2, and it becomes more dangerous. But for her, all along was to see someone who is working in the Misha Shobai and then become someone who is running something in the Misha Shobai. And there's a scene, in when Jake, the first scene between Jake and Samantha in season 2 is that she talks about, yeah, I really didn't know how hard it was going to be. I have to become a different person. I have to tell them to stop swearing and dress better. And it's, if you make a great character who has obstacles to overcome, that's how you approach it, as opposed to saying, oh, gee, I need to have a woman do this. It's, I need to have Samantha hungry to achieve this, and then it will take care of itself. And you get a really terrific actress like Rachel, and you're off to the races.
Well, I would like to give a shout to our music supervisor, Michael Hill, who was not an expert on Japanese pop music of the late 90s when we started the season, but he is now.
He is now.
He is now. And he did such a deep dive. JT and I had to listen to dozens of songs to find the right song for the moment. And it was important to find the songs that weren't just right as background for the scene, but that also for the Japanese audience who knew they would feel like we were going back in time to a particular moment.
We have a very particular, it's never talked about in the show, but we have it down to every episode. Oh, this is April 7th at 3:00 in the afternoon. So if there's music in the background that no one's going to even really hear, but it's still there, we look at the chart. What was popular? What was the top 12 songs in Tokyo within 6 months back from April 7th, 2000? So it's very, you spend a lot of time trying to get these details right, even if it doesn't, even if it just comes in subconsciously into the audience's ear.
Just no, but have you seen, how many episodes have you seen?
I've been seeing so far like 5 episodes
You've
so
seen
far.
5. So the one thing I'll give credit on a brilliant choice of music is the director of episode 5, Fukunaga Takeshi-san. He's the one that chose Oyoge Taiyaki-kun to be playing in the car when the gangsters get in the car. And we are that was maybe our most brilliant music selection.
That was
for
Takeshi's.
So I give full credit to Takeshi for that.
I mean, no, he's been living there a lot. I mean, he's spending a great deal of time in Japan, even when we're not shooting. I mean, it allows me as the writer and the creator to go, if Ansel's Japanese is that good and his understanding is that good, then it just opens up more possibilities of where he can be speaking Japanese, where he can be speaking, who he can be speaking Japanese with. Because the more we push into, Japan and his storyline, the better. So it was just a great tool, a great other color to add to the show is his knowledge of Japan and Japanese language.
Yeah, and I would just add that Ansel had a great advantage, which he really used in a very productive way, which is that we were shut down for 8 months by COVID during season 1. And Ansel continued to work every day with Honma Sensei, the Japanese language teacher we found for him. And the two of them have bonded so completely that now 2 years later, they still talk every day. And that relationship, I think, gave Ansel a portal to dive into not just the language, but all kinds of elements of Japanese culture.